Coming up on College Press Box.
Texas men's basketball bounces back.
While the Texas women's team loses back-to-back games.
And softball destroys their competition in the first game of the season.
All this and more coming up on College Press Box. Hello and good evening to this edition of College Press Box. I'm your host Julien Owens, and with me tonight is our lovely Taylor Smith. Taylor, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, before we get into any sports talk, let's talk about what happened this past weekend, the Grammys. Was there anything that was just amazing for you for the Grammys, or was there anything surprising that happened this past Grammys?
Well, I wouldn't say it really surprised me, but Kanye pulled a Kanye again. Well, almost. He got on the stage after the Grammys were over and complained about Beyonce not winning a music award again. So I guess it didn't really surprise me that it happened again.
I mean, anything Kanye does shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but we'll
true.
go there. On a two-game losing streak, Texas men's basketball team looks for redemption against Oklahoma State to get back in contention for the Big 12 competition later in the season. Let's head to the drum for the highlights. You see DeMarcus just rolling the team up, getting ready for the game against Oklahoma State. Now, early in the first, DeMarcus, who are you throwing to? Who are you passing to? And he goes in, Marcus Brown just dunks all over him, and it's just not pretty. Oklahoma State would lead this game 37-26. Then DeMarcus pass it to Yancey. Yancey passes to Isaiah. Isaiah with an acrobatic jumper, as you can see, passed through the two defenders. Texas comes back 40-32. Well, however, later, as you can see, they're going to pass it off. Yancey again will come over, pass it over to DeMarcus. DeMarcus with the three goes in. Texas comes within 50-46. As you can see, they're rolling up now. Isaiah, he goes in, goes straight through, curves, gets a jumper. Oh, it goes in. They tied the game, and it just looks like Texas is actually having some momentum going. Now, Isaiah with the free throw to win the game. What you do? He misses the free throw, and it goes to overtime. Now, in overtime, Connor with the free, he misses another free throw. Oh, my goodness. Can anybody make free throws today? Well, obviously, Phil Forte for Oklahoma State banks both of his free throws that gives Oklahoma State the lead by 2. Isaiah trying to get a prayer in. He misses it. Oklahoma State will take the win for this one, 65-63. College Press Box's own Caden Kenyard was at the game this past Wednesday. He has some insight on this close matchup in the future for the Horns.
Doubt has clouded the Texas basketball program. Carrying a 3-5 record in Big 12 play, the Longhorns, a team with such high expectations, has had wildly inconsistent play.
It's such a fine line with execution. I mean, it's such a fine line. And all 5 guys, talk a lot about attacking space. All 5 guys have to be playing together. All 5 guys have to be fluid. And when a guy goes, stops, goes back because he's not, again, and I'll be honest with you, I can't explain that.
The Longhorns lost against Oklahoma State, but in the second half, they were a different, much better team. Despite losing in overtime, the Longhorns came back from 14, proving to themselves that they could fix things before the season ends.
But a real problem has been consistency. Like I told the guards after the Baylor game, I said, we got to get consistent guard play. We got to get it.
Texas found their consistent guard play in the second half, with the backcourt scoring 21 of the team's 32 points.
Second half, they fixed it. They came out, and I told them that. I said to them, can it be any worse? You can if you're going to hesitate, if you're not going to make the plays, we turned it over 14 times anyway. So we're going to turn it over. Let's turn it over doing what we practice.
Caden Kennard, College Press Box.
Unlike Wednesday night, the Horns added to the win column Saturday afternoon against Kansas State. With this win, Texas broke their 4-game losing streak and their 4-game losing streak in Manhattan. Isaiah Taylor finished with a game-high 23 points and Connor Lambert 12 points. recording a season high in points. The Horns are back in action Wednesday against TCU.
Joining us in the studio this evening is College Press Box's own Brooks Kubena. Brooks, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, no Monday blues here, Julian. I feel good. Got some good games coming up this week. How about you guys?
I'm actually feeling great. How about you?
I'm feeling pretty good too.
All right, Brooks, let's get straight into some basketball talk. Texas had some pretty close games against Oklahoma State Cowboys and the Kansas State Wildcats. But Texas was only to be able to pull the win in Manhattan, not in Frank Irwin. What was the difference between both of these games, Brooks?
Well, Julian, Kansas State had a chance at the end to tie the game in a layup, and Oklahoma State, they didn't miss that layup. They didn't have a chance to do that, and Oklahoma State was able to pull away. Texas had a chance to really come back and use their size against Kansas State, but Kansas State's been struggling too. They're out with one of their top players, Marcus Foster, their leading scorer, and they needed Holland to go 4 for 4 from threes against Oklahoma State to even have a chance in this. So really, there's a lack of consistency between these two games, and TCU, just in that part, didn't seem to be able to get things together, and Texas was able to pull off the win.
To me, the big difference between the two games was Texas didn't get behind early and have some big comeback against Kansas State like they did Oklahoma State. It's hard when you're down 15 points to rally and win the game. It's like we saw two different Texas teams out there between the first and second half against Oklahoma State.
I couldn't agree with you more, Taylor. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, finally, and I mean finally, Texas is out of a losing skid. And now they're heading to the last few games before March Madness begins. Do you think the Horns are back on track, Brooks, or do they still need some work to do?
No, I don't think they're back on track. They haven't played a full game since TCU 6 games ago. Kansas State was also on a big losing streak. So the matchup was the race to get to the stoplight to turn back to the right track. I don't think they're anywhere close to it right now, and they have a chance ahead with TCU and Tech upcoming. Whenever they win those, they have a chance to get back into the conversation for the March Madness. But right now, I think they still have a lot more to prove. They're going to have to go into that tough stretch. Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor. They need to get one of those wins in there. And right now, Rick Barnes hasn't had an answer for them so far, so I don't think they're there yet.
I think I would have to agree with Brooks. It was a nice win, but Texas needs to beat TCU and Texas Tech at home this week to be back on track. Those two wins would make them 6-6 in Big 12 play, a big confidence booster hitting the road to Norman next week.
Hopefully it is a confidence booster.
I agree.
Now, Texas is closer to the end of the totem pole when it comes to Big 12 standings, but they actually showed some promise in these last few games, Brooks. What steps does Texas needs to take to get in a good place in the standings and improve their play?
Well, one of the things I see from this Texas team that I think they need to improve on is just the fundamentals. Whenever you saw them play against Oklahoma State, 6 turnovers in the first 6 minutes. All of this coming out of seemingly YMCA ball, and Rick Barnes talked about it after the game. They're making mistakes outside of the game plan. He wants to see them make the mistakes at least within the game plan. So they need to get back into their scheme, start working the low post. We saw a decrease in three-pointers against Kansas State on Saturday, only 14 taken. I think whenever you see those numbers around, they're a more balanced offense, and they're able to come back on defense and make up for these things. They need to play a full game, not the first half, not the second half, not overtime, a full game. If we see that against TCU, I think they're back in.
And I think we need to see some more outside shooting from Texas. DeMarcus Holland came up big against Oklahoma State, 4 for 4 on three-pointers, 3 of them in the second half, but Texas needs to continue with that. Without an outside shooting threat, defenses know the ball is going into the paint for every Texas offensive play, so they just clog the lane. With an outside shooting threat, Texas can draw the defense out of the paint, creating more space for their big man to do work down low.
They really do need some big man play. Well, thank you, Brooks, for your insight on the men's basketball team. We'll see you a little bit later for the women's basketball. Coming up, we're going to have some women's basketball and how they did these last previous games. Stay tuned. Welcome back to College Press Box. On Wednesday night, the Texas women's basketball team traveled to Manhattan, Kansas to face Kansas State, which they lost 66-57. Texas led into the first half going 28-25. Texas took the stand and kept the matchup pretty close. The game had 10 lead changes and 7 ties before Kansas State took the game in a 19-11 run in the last 7 minutes of the game, with freshman guard Ariel Atkins, junior and senior Imani McGee Stafford and sophomore center Kelsey Lang scoring a combined 46 of Texas' 57 points. Texas came out strong, shooting 46% in the field with 28 points, but then going so cold as they're only shooting 30% with 29 points in the second. Texas finished the game with 37% on the field with 19 turnovers.
The Lady Longhorns continue to endure some tough losses. Yesterday, the Horns lost to Baylor in what looked like was going to be a big comeback. Let's look at highlights from the game. Texas coming out of the tunnel to face an undefeated Baylor in Big 12 play, and McCarthy misses, but Imani McGee Stafford grabs her rebound, then her own rebound, and scores 2. With 8:40 left in the first half, McCarthy drives to the paint for a layup. The score is 21-15 Baylor. Right here, Kelsey Lang passes out to McCarthy for a 3, 28-24 Baylor. And then Ariel Atkins passes to Kelsey Lang for 2 points, which ties the game at 28. And then Brady Sanders passes to Atkins for 3 points. And then we have Brady Sanders taking her own three-pointer here, and Texas closes the gap 66-70 with 1:19 left. Texas on the last points of the game. McCarthy passes to Breonna Taylor, but Texas still falls 68-70.
Coming back in the studio with us is again Brooks. Brooks, thank you for coming in for the studio one more time.
No problem, man. Glad to be here.
All right. The women's basketball team has lost 1, not 2, but 3 straight games. Very unusual for a team that was in the top 10 in preseason rankings. Brooks, what is going on with this Longhorn team?
Well, they're dealing with a ton of injuries, Julian. I mean, Nneka and Impali went out a month ago against Baylor. Then they lost Ariel Atkins for a while. They just got back Empress Davenport, and they're having to change their lineup every week. It seems like a different kind of idea every game. It's hard to build success off of that kind of inconsistency.
I think I would have to agree with Brooks on this. Their team is trying to create a new identity right now without an Impali, and she went out at a crucial point of the season when they still had some tough Big 12 opponents to play left, but they only lost by 2 to Baylor. So that is pretty promising since Baylor is undefeated in Big 12 play. So I'm hoping the Horns might be on an uprise here.
Hopefully they are on an uprise. Well, as mentioned earlier, the team was ranked top 10 in preseason rankings, and now they're 5th in Big 12 conference. Not even in AP's top 25. Is this team overrated, or is there still the team to beat in the Big 12, Brooks?
I think the top 8 teams out of the 10 teams in the Big 12 are the teams to beat. In deep conferences, the best surface at the end. And if Texas happens to fall to the bottom, I don't think you can call them overrated. Then you'd be saying the Big 12 is overrated. I don't think Texas needs to be in the top 25 as much as I think they need to be in the top 4 in the conference by the end of the year. If they can do that, they should be dancing in March.
I think I would have to agree with Brooks, and I don't think they were overrated at the beginning of the season. They did lose their star player, like we already said, Nneka and Impali, so that's a huge loss for Texas. But the Big 12 is pretty stacked with teams, and so I think they are still a tough team for people to beat.
Okay, hopefully they will be. And now, Texas is now 5th in Big 12 standings, as mentioned earlier. With only 7 games left in the regular season, how realistic does this Horns team look in terms of Big 12 play in the last stretch before tournament?
I really think whenever they go into these last games, you see a lot of tough competition. None of them are ranked, but like I said, this Big 12 is stacked. A lot of these teams, there's not a single team in this conference that's below 500. I feel like a lot of what they're going to see is tough play. Can they get through it? Can they beat the teams? We've seen them play well against Oklahoma. Are they going to get all their players back from injury? Are they going to be able to be consistent night in and night out? If they do that, I think it is a good chance for them to make the tournament. I think with the lineup that they have right now, even though it's battered, they have a good chance.
Like you said, Texas is 5th in the Big 12 standing right now, but I think they're going to stay in that similar position. I think they might win the last 3 of their 7 games, but I don't think that's going to really be an unbelievable big push to propel them in the rankings at all.
Wow, that's pretty pessimistic.
The truth.
That really is the truth. Well, thank you so much, Brooks, for your in-depth analysis on both women's and men's basketball team.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Next, we're going to talk about some softball as the season started and some men's swimming and diving. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to College Press Box tonight, and thanks for staying tuned. Let's dive right into men's tennis. The number 9 men's tennis team faced Washington on Friday and Rice on Sunday, winning both of those matches 6-1. Against Washington, the Longhorns started 1-0 after earning the doubles point and won 5 of their 6 singles matches. Sophomore George Goldoff played in his first dual match of the season since injury and won his doubles and singles matches. Against Rice, the Horns started off strong again by winning the doubles point and 5 of the 6 in singles. The Horns remain undefeated and will play in the ITA National Team Championship in Chicago this weekend.
The men's and women's swimming and diving took and destroyed TCU on Senior Day. Number 1 Texas men started the meet winning the 200-yard medley relay, while number 6 women's did the same in the 200-yard medley relay in 1 minute 41.81 seconds. Sophomores Matt Elis and Jack Onger led the way in the 500 freestyle, Connor with the win, finishing in less than 4 minutes and 30 seconds. The men's team finished with the meet with the win in 200-style relay with 1 minute 34.21 seconds. Senior Gretchen Jackets led the team with 2 wins in the 200 medley relay and the 100 butterfly in 54.25 seconds. Texas women's finished the meet with a win in the 200 freestyle relay. Texas will host the Big 12 championships from February 25th to the 28th at the Lee and Joe Jamel Texas Swimming Center.
The Longhorns softball team traveled to Tempe, Arizona over the weekend to play. The Longhorns opened up play on Friday afternoon against University of California, Santa Barbara, winning 15-0, making their 19th consecutive win for season openers. Friday evening, the Horns faced Oregon, losing 9-0. Sophomore Tiara Davis took the loss for Texas. The Horns only recorded 2 hits in 5 innings of that game.
On Saturday, Texas softball team tried to take the advantage and try to go up 2-1, but fell short at Stanford 9-10 at the bottom of the second. Down by 3, Texas caught on fire, scoring 7 straight runs. However, Stanford would answer the bell right back, scoring 7 of their own in the next 2 innings, leading the score 10-7. With the 4th and the 5th, Texas couldn't manage to get any more runs with the last 4. And Sunday, Texas would finish the Classic with a 3-2 record, winning against Arizona State 9-4. Texas again, starting hot, scored 6 runs in the first inning. After scoring 2 more runs in the 4th, Arizona State tried to fight back with the last 4 innings, the 4th to the 7th, only scoring 4 points. Defense, however, from the Horns stopped the Devils in the 7th. They had to call the game, and Texas took the win.
The Texas men's golf team traveled to Hawaii over the weekend to play. Texas finished the weekend tied for 8th, 10 strokes behind the champion Arizona State. Freshman Scotty Scheffler finished 68 on the final day for a career-high finish. Texas plays again February 27th in a 3-day tournament in Florida. Thanks for staying with us tonight. We have one more segment of College Press Box left, but we'll take a look to see what's going on this week in sports. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to College Press Box. For this edition of Man on the Street, Mark Soul went to the students to talk some football signing day and signees. Instead of the signees' names, he mentioned a few of the NBA players. Let's see what they had to say.
Mark Skoll Jr. here under the beautiful tower at the University of Texas at Austin. National Signing Day was this past Wednesday, and according to ESPN, Texas had the 9th best recruiting class in the nation. So I'm here asking students about their knowledge on this year's recruiting class. But what they don't know is that I'll be referencing NBA players and not Texas recruits. Let's see how many diehard fans we have here at UT Austin. So I'm here with
Reggie. Garrett Tilgen. Jason Garza.
Manny. All right, Manny. So National Signing Day was this past Wednesday, and we all know the big name recruits like Malik Jefferson and Kyle Loxley. But let's talk about some of the under-the-radar guys. So what do you think about Kendrick Perkins coming in to be an offensive lineman?
I think he's going to do a pretty good job. We needed someone like that, especially this past season with the record we had, 6-6. I think we need someone like that to step it up.
I think he's fantastic. I think he's exactly what we need at UT, and he's going to do great. I think Kendrick Perkins, he's going to come in strong. I know he's really been fighting for that position, and I feel like he's definitely got a lot of support to hold this team through.
Great, yeah. Beast on the field for sure. Just offensive lineman, right? Yeah, just can block any of his quarterbacks, can open up a spot for his running back, anything.
You got to be excited about 6'11" wide receiver Joakim Noah coming in from Florida. How do you think someone's going to guard a 6'11" wide receiver?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I feel like he's definitely going to be a strong point to our team. It's going to be really hard to try to get your hands above his hands. If he just gets that speed to go out there real quick, and I feel like he's going to be hard to stop. Definitely going to have to start passing the ball a little more.
It's going to be tough because, he's pretty athletic. He works hard. He knows how to do his job. It's going to be tough to mark someone like that.
And then last question, do you think JaVale McGee is the answer at the quarterback position?
Well, some people disagree, but I really think he is. I think he has the skill necessary for being at UT, and he's going to do great.
I guess only time will tell. I feel like he has a strong heart. He wants the position bad, but only time can tell because it's a tough position to fill.
This has been Man on the Street with Mark Skoll Jr. Thanks for watching.
Many Longhorn sports teams will be competing this week. Let's take a look to see who's playing and when they are playing. On Monday and Tuesday, we have women's golf at the UCF Challenge. On Wednesday, the women's basketball is at Oklahoma State at 7 p.m. and men's basketball hosts TCU at 7 p.m. That will be on Longhorn Network.
Now, Friday, softball will be hosting IPFW 4 p.m. You can catch that on Longhorn Network. Baseball will be traveling to Rice at 6 p.m. and softball will be hosting Wichita State here at 6:30 p.m. Now, Friday and Saturday, Texas track and field and cross country will be at the Tyson Invitational and Husky Classic.
On Saturday, women's tennis at Pepperdine. Baseball will be at Rice. Softball hosting Colorado State at 1 p.m. Longhorn Network. Softball hosting Wichita State 4 p.m. Longhorn Network. Baseball plays Rice again. Women's basketball will be at Kansas, and men's basketball will host Texas Tech 7 p.m. Longhorn Network.
Then Friday through Monday, men's tennis will be at the ITA Indoor Championship. Sunday, baseball will be hosting Rice again at 1 p.m. Softball versus Colorado State also here at 10 a.m. Catch that on Longhorn Network. Then women's tennis will be traveling to USC 12 p.m. Now, before we leave this evening, we'd like to take a moment of honor to our Longhorn legend, Roosevelt Leaks, the first African-American All-American player in Texas history. In 1972, he led the team's running for 1,099 yards and scoring 8 touchdowns, making him the only second Longhorn to rush for 1,000 yards in a season. The following season, Leaks set or tied 7 other school records, including conference record for the most yards in a game when he ran for 342 yards in the 42-14 win over SMU. We salute Roosevelt Leaks, a Longhorn legend. So, Taylor, what are your plans this weekend?
Well, my brother's a starting pitcher for Southwestern University on Saturday against Concordia, so I'll be at the baseball fields all day. What are your plans? I'm
going to be working and studying. This is Valentine's Day weekend, but I'll be lonely this weekend.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's fine. It's completely fine. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of College Press Box. Make sure you tune in to the other show, College Crossfire, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. You can follow them at collegeexpire.com. Also, you can catch us here every Monday, College Press Box at 9:30 p.m. Also, follow them on Twitter, College Press Box. From Master Control, Brooks Kubena, Taylor Smith, and everyone in the studio, I'm Julien Owens. Have a great night.
And if they trying to doubt the South, that's fine. We riding dirty at the same time, shine. For all the dope boys pushing on the grind.